When I first came to New York, I came with 2 suitcases. One was quite small. I had my belongings there. One was a big one. I had my dreams in there. I tried for 3 years to get an interview with Mr. Beene. If I called in June of '88, I was told to call by June of '89. One day, I was introduced to Dawn Mello. Dawn Mello was the head of Gucci at the time, and she is the person who changed my life. She called Mr. Beene on a Monday night, and by Tuesday morning he saw me, and by Tuesday, before lunch, I was hired. I got the job of my life. That was my dream. That was a dream that came true. That was America, and God bless America. My first day at work at Geoffrey Beene, I found that Mr. Beene is not going to be there for the week. Knowing Mr. Beene later, he was a tiger. I mean, he will go to sleep at 9 at night, he will wake up at 3 in the morning, sketch till 5, and by 7 he will be at the office, mad if we were late. That was Mr. Beene. But on my first day, he wasn't there. He wasn't there for the whole week because he had a cataract operation in his eyes, so I thought always it was maybe in order to see us better. The first day I arrived, I found out that there was no space for me in the office. There was no place in the studio. They didn't have a desk. So they finally found a little place in the closet, in the dressing room. They brought me a coffee table from the showroom, and that was my office. A coffee table in a dressing room. That was my first week at Geoffrey Beene. I was sketching for 1 week, alone in the room, sketching and sketching and sketching. And nobody even came to say, like, hi, my name is John. And I continued sketching. By the end of the week, the head of the studio came by. He was this kind of hunky bodybuilder, good-looking guy. And he looked at my work and he said, listen, it's very, very nice, but it's not at all Geoffrey Beene. I started to cry. I took all my belongings, I put them in a plastic bag, and I was waiting, not for Donald Trump to tell me, you are fired, but I was waiting for someone to tell me, you are fired. And then by Monday morning, Mr. Beene arrived. He came to say good morning, and he saw my work, and he told me, give it to Charlie. Charlie was the head of the atelier. Later on, I realized that it was the first time that Mr. Beene took the whole work of one of his people and sent it directly to the atelier. And that was a huge honor. You know, I had a very, very special dialogue with Mr. Beene. I had a dialogue with Mr. Beene because I understood that even though my sketches were not at all Geoffrey Beene, I thought maybe he was not looking for another Geoffrey Beene. Maybe he had enough with one. Maybe he had enough with himself. And I understood that he was ready for an open dialogue. We have a dialogue that had no words. We looked at each other, we understood each other, and I knew what he wanted. I will do a sketch and I will leave it on his desk. He will re-sketch it and give it back to me. I'll re-sketch it and left it on his desk. Then he said, okay, and I will stay the whole night, drape it, and then in the morning I'll try to come before him, I'll make him hot coffee, and I will be waiting like a little dog for my master. That was our relationship. That was our story for 7 years. One day in a previews for Vogue magazine, it was, I think, my first meeting with Anna Wintour and the whole Vogue editor, and they all got there. I think there were about 18 of them, and I was in the back door dressing the model. And there was that dress that Mr. Beene specifically wanted to show. But that dress, I mean, was not done. There were plenty of problems all over that dress. And there was this Italian model named Christina. And I told her, Christina, be careful with that dress. I mean, there is such a problem in the way. So if you go out, put your hand and don't move it under any circumstances. And in an Italian accent, she said, no worry, honey. And she went out. The first thing Mr. Beene told her, what's wrong with your hand? Move your hand. And you know what she said? But he told me there is a problem in the dress right here. I was backstage, and I thought I'm going to die. I mean, I was counting my hours again, and Mr. Beene came backstage and started to laugh, because he had a great sense of humor. I remember one day I was during fittings, and there were a lot of bizarre clothes, and then there was this simple little dress. And I told Mr. Beene, wow, that's a cute dress, it's so commercial. And Mr. Beene took me back to his office, and he said, Alber, don't you ever say the word commercial. Say desirable. And Mr. Beene was the man that introduced me to the world of desire, the world of dream, the world of fashion. Geoffrey Beene was not a brand for me. Geoffrey Beene was a house. Geoffrey Beene was my home away from home. Geoffrey Beene was my family. He was my mentor. Mr. Beene taught me all I know, and all I know today, I teach back to my team. When I had to tell Mr. Beene that I'm going to leave because I'm heading for Paris, I was so miserable. I was so sad. And I told him, Mr. Beene, I have to leave. But maybe it's good I'm leaving so you can get a new broom. And he looked at me and said, Alber, but I really love my old broom. And I love him forever for giving me the chance and the love and the opportunity and the confidence that made me believe that I'm not just another one, but he let me always feel how good I am. And that was Mr. Beene. So again, I want to thank you all, and thanks Mr. Tom Hutton, that was the lawyer of Mr. Beene for years and years and years. And Mr. Hutton is the one that took care of him and protected him. As Alina said, that will be my last line. Alina said that I have a weakness for mothers, and it's true. And my mother told me, I think it was a week before she left to the stars, she said that she wished I will be big and small. And I told her, Mom, what do you mean, like fat and skinny? And she said, no. Be big at your work, but be small in your life. So that matches Mr. Beene. And that matches my philosophy. And I always say that success is like a perfume. You can only smell it, but don't you ever drink it. Thank you.